So let's start this video out by saying this is not a hate video. I am simply asking questions and talking about things that have factually happened. I know as a society right now, it's deemed like disrespectful to ask questions and question things when when I grew up, that's how we got answers about things. You're not going to accept that the stranger on the corner tells you he has a piece of candy in his pocket. You're going to ask some questions before you reach your hand in there. At least you would back in the day, but I don't know about people nowadays. They'd probably reach two hands in there and grab a handful of fun. But Sony has had a very interesting year, at least to say the least, when it comes to the PlayStation brand. But over the past 48 hours, there's been a couple of different stories coming out that have me questioning what exactly is going on with PlayStation. I don't think it's necessarily doom and gloom, but I think it does shine a light on some situations that I have talked about before on this channel that some people just sweep under the rug or say is hyperbole about big video game companies in the immediate future. So let's just talk about what's going on with this. I'll give you guys my sort of thoughts on it, and you can ask questions as well. I won't be offended. So the first thing we're going to talk about is Ballistic Studio. Now, Ballistic was, of course, the company that handled the Until Dawn remake for the PlayStation 5 that released last year. Now, this was definitely a game where I was like, this doesn't need a PS5 version. Like the PS4 version still looks great. I don't think people were playing Until Dawn for the cutting edge graphics, although the game did look very nice. It was more so about the story, and considering that Until Dawn, the PS4 version, worked on the PlayStation 5 with no problems, it kind of didn't make sense for this game to get re-released at $60 for the PlayStation 5, now utilizing a new graphics engine, but still being the exact same game at the end of the day with a few little tweaks here and there. But surprise, surprise, the game sold like absolute dog shit. Nobody bought it at the $60 price point because you could buy Until Dawn for like $10 if you didn't already have it and play it on your PlayStation 5. And now Ballistic is done. That studio has officially closed. They tried to get more funding from Sony to do additional updates to the Until Dawn remake, but that will not be happening. And to me, that is a reflection of PlayStation, because PlayStation, they're the ones that used Ballistic to do this unnecessary remake, to do this game that nobody was asking for at a price point that most normal people would not want to pick up. There has been a PC version of the game as well. It just seemed like a waste of time. Yet another remake or remaster of a game from the PlayStation 4 that still works on the PlayStation 5, probably already has a PlayStation 5 patch to enhance the visuals and the frame rate, but they deem that they need to do a full-on port, like Days Gone. But I look at situations like this, and it's kind of just indicative of how PlayStation has been handling this generation, and we'll get a little bit more into that as the video goes along. But there was a bigger story than just Ballistic that happened as well, with PlayStation and the visual arts group based out of San Diego for PlayStation has now been told that their last day at Sony will be tomorrow, March 7th. Now, these people were doing things for internal art and technical support to first-party PlayStation studios. They worked with Naughty Dog on Last of Us Part 1 and 2 remasters, along with some other projects, and now they will be gone. They're all being removed, they're all being laid off, and they will all have to find new employment. And then, of course, you have all these people with their sympathy cards and their empathy cards, and that's fine, but you're still gonna buy PlayStation stuff and hype up all the PlayStation games, so you really don't care because it's not affecting your bottom line, it's affecting somebody else's. But you have all of these layoffs happening, and when you think about that, when you think about a healthy company, usually healthy companies that are in good standing, don't do a layoff. They don't remove people. If anything, they hire more people because they want to grow and they want to maximize their output efficiency. But when you look at PlayStation, I think this makes perfect sense, because how many live service games did you have that you ended up canceling? Whether these games were in development, whether these games did end up releasing, how many of these games cost you hundreds of millions of dollars? And yes, you've had successes with games like Helldivers 2, but one success and 10 absolute failures, to the point of where, 80% of those games don't come out. And the one game that you do have come out, Concord, you remove it after 2 weeks and you're like, we messed up. Sorry, we're canceling this game. We're going to give you a refund, and then we're going to close down this studio. That's not an effective way to make money. That is not an effective way to be profitable. When people talk about PlayStation profits, they always look at the gross profit and not the net profit. And it's very strange to me because the net profit margins are pretty slim, all things considered. But people don't look at that. Like, I feel like people don't understand what gross versus net profit is. Gross profit is the money you make just outright. Net profit is when you account for all of the expenses that you have had. So if you've made $100, but you spent $99.99 to make that $100, you've only made a penny. That is your net profit. I understand the public school system isn't really up to snuff nowadays. Really wasn't when I was a kid either, but I feel like this is a basic thing that people should know instead of a Pythagorean theorem or science stuff. Why do I have to learn science stuff in school? You shouldn't have to learn science stuff unless you are going to school to like be a scientist. It just seems like a colossal waste of time, but that's a topic for another day. But am I saying that there's doom and gloom for Sony, this, that, or the other? No. I'm actually not. And I know that you probably thought I was going to dunk on Sony and be like, oh, look, this company is in peril. But that's not the case at all. Because really, this just goes to show you what I have been trying to tell you guys about a video game crash. When I say video game crash, not all crashes are created equal. If you get into a fender bender or you get into an 18-car pileup, both of those are considered a vehicle crash. But there's obviously levels to this sort of thing. I consider this more so to be a bit of a course correction than just a standard flat-out crash where nobody is wanting to sell video games in North America like we saw back in 1983. However, to get to that point, there are going to be casualties. There are going to be studio closures, and we've seen studio closures time and time again. You have these big budget games that if they don't hit a certain metric can completely sink a studio. Look at a game like Concord. Look at a game like all of these live service games that Sony was kind of banking on for this generation. And a lot of it just comes from the uppers at these studios. These people are genuinely disconnected, I feel, in a lot of situations. And because of that, they're not losing their jobs. They're not being held accountable. You want to know where my empathy is? It does lie with the people at these companies who are losing their jobs because it's not necessarily their fault. They're not the one calling the shots. They're the hired hands to do what the uppers think of. And the upper people don't seem to ever be held accountable. And, it's a whole system of different things, and you could get all political about it at the end of the day and stuff like that. But, it does suck. Even my biggest enemies, like, I don't want to see you struggle financially. I would rather you struggle in your personal life, maybe your mental health, but like financially, you should be able to eat. You should be able to put a roof over your head and stuff like that. I don't want to see people like have that sort of thing happen to them. Almost like I really hate you, but like that's more like personal life. Like these people online, these video game companies, I don't hate them like that. I don't even hate the guy from PlayStation UK, the PR guy over there who tried to deplatform me. That really worked well, jackass. But like I still hope you could pay your rent and eat your beans and toast or whatever you eat in the UK. I don't think this is doom and gloom for PlayStation. I'm just asking a question. What the fuck is going on here? Like, at what point in time are the higher ups going to sit back, look at the situation, and kind of realize, hey, we've got some problems here. We've got some gaps in our lineup. Xbox, our would-be competitor, is now publishing more games this year on our platform than we are. What is our lineup looking like? What sort of game are we going to always rely on these remakes and remasters, or are we going to have some newer stuff to showcase? I'm seeing a lot of 2026 out of Sony. Where's the 2025 Ghost of Yotei? Evidently, I've been saying it wrong. It's Yotei, not Yotai. Look, man, I'm trying. I am a white man who is simply trying to speak words that are not accustomed to me. But people seem like hellbent on that being a 2025 game, and yeah, maybe it is, but is one game enough? Like, I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. Sony coasting a little bit? I'll let you decide with that. But anyways, that's what's happening with PlayStation right now. A very healthy company does not have layoffs in this kind of, size and scope. This is obviously a bit of a course correction. Not saying it's the end of the world, but it is something to monitor. Let me know in the comments section down below. What do you think? Are you surprised by things like this? It's only, March 2025, and we have a laundry list of video game layoffs and studio closures. But hey, the industry's in a great place, guys. Everything is awesome. That's what happens when you're not realistic with yourself. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.